NTA Kaduna, your star station.
Good evening, Nigerians, and welcome to yet another interesting program of ours on anti-hate speech campaign. Today, we'll be talking about hate speech and politics. For those of you who have been following our program, we have talked on hate speech and politics before, but we have seen the need to continue on this important discussion. Aristotle once said, man is a political animal. We will have in the studio today important academicians who will help us analyze this important topic. But with me is my usual anchor, Muhammad Jamil Muhammad.
Thank you, Steve, for having me here.
And I remain Father Stephen Ojapa, a priest of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto and a member of the Central Coordinating Council of Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace. I have from my far right, Father Patrick Francis Etuk, MSP, a priest of the Mission Society of St. Paul. He is a philosopher and also a lecturer at the Missionary Seminary of St. Paul, Kokolada. Father, you are most welcome.
Thanks, Steve, for having me.
From my left is also a lecturer, Mr. Yabagi Muhammad Al-Amin. He is also a lecturer with Federal College of Education, Zaria.
It's a pleasure being here.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome our guests. It's true that politics has been like a source of hate speech and how it's been played in Nigeria and perhaps elsewhere. We want to hear from here. Let me start with Father Patrick. What can you tell us and our viewers that have been sources and perhaps some manifestations of hate speech in Nigeria as a country?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's important that I try to put the whole issue of hate speech in perspective. What is hate speech? What do I regard as hate speech? And what is commonly known as hate speech? Hate speech for me is any form of offensive language that is targeted at persons, group of persons, meant to demean, disparage them, and maybe predispose them for some kind of violence. I mean, any form of communication that is actually done in that manner, I would regard it as hate speech. You find out that often hate speech incites others to maybe visit men on others for no just or maybe sometimes there might be some kind of valid motive for someone having grievance against others. Sometimes there may be no valid or any justifiable reason for that kind of conduct. If we ask ourselves now, what is often the cause or source of hate speech and maybe instances? In our own context, Nigeria, you find out that there's so much anger in the land, especially at this moment. I don't know. There's so much suffering, so much pain, so much hunger. And we have the saying that a hungry man
It's an angry man.
It's an angry man. You know, people feel deprived, and they don't feel that they have access to the commonwealth. And these are issues of life and death. Because if you don't have access to basic necessities of life, your life is threatened. So many people are feeling threatened, and somehow, if someone feels threatened, some kind of aggressiveness, what you see is some form of aggressiveness. So when people are aggressive, one of the ways they can fight is by being hostile in the way they address others, they speak to others. So I personally believe that this is one form of one source of hate speech in Nigeria. Recently, I listened to one of the presidential aspirants. He said I shouldn't call names, but I think it's important that I mention a name.
Okay.
Not to judge the person who said it.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe for us to understand a little bit more of what the issues are. I am talking of Omoyole Sowore. He was being interviewed, and they asked him, why are you always insulting your elders? You know, I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing what the question was. And he said that the elders don't deserve to be respected because they have looted a common patrimony. You know, somehow, I'm not going to judge what he said, but he is kind of telling us,
having a perception that the leaders have been unjust.
From what he's saying, it's like Omoyole is representing a section of the country, the youths who feel that the common patrimony has been depleted. And
so they are angry. Therefore, the elders must be visited with.
Yes. So somehow, some kind of.
Thank you, Father. I will come back to you. Alhaji, he has mentioned some of the sources. Can we have more? And perhaps, how are they manifesting in their country? I mean, hate speech.
All right, viewers and the anchors, once again, I want to say that I'm happy to be here and to share my own views on this very important topic, and very timely again, because we are in a political period where there is campaigns going on and a lot of politicking. But I would just want to add maybe one word to the definition given by Father on the topic. The dimension I want to add to it is the issue of derogatory statement, and then also trying to segregate. You know, you try to, hate speech is a speech or even manifestation of other expressions. It might not necessarily be a speech, but even a playlet or a drama that is being shown either in a television or anywhere, targeted to derogate or to try to diminish somebody or group of people is also hate speech. And like you said rightly, as the manifestations. In Nigeria, we were actually amalgamated, we were told, in 1914. Well, that was a geographical amalgamation, where we are actually also amalgamated in the basis of culture, the basis of our tribes, and we really got integrated as a nation. I think it is not, the answer is not in affirmative. There are so many of us who still believe in the ethnic nationality. They still believe, they believe very strongly in their own ethnic nationalities. And therefore, anybody that is not within their own ethnic nationality or religious belief or political affiliation, they want to use that differences to attain or achieve their own some.
You're talking about the politicians now, right?
Well, this one is generally.
Okay.
Because that is the basis. You know, that this is the basis from where, when politicians now realize that you can score some goals, some cheap goals, when you address ethnic issues or religious issues, you show kind of biasness and show that you're actually a defender of that group. Then you stand the chances of winning election, or then they now start to exploit that area.
Yeah.
And I think that is.
My brother has more questions for you, but I just want to I want to bring our mind a little bit close to the religious nature of Nigeria. We know that if a candidate does not go to church or does not go to the mosque, we know that he doesn't have a space in Nigeria. And we know that our politicians are always interested in fanning the embers of religion in our polity. I mean, no matter how you want to explain it, how do you think we can separate religion from politics in order to minimize the chances of somebody fanning politics with religion? Let me begin with Patrick. With Father Patrick.
First of all, I think it's important that we understand that the problem is not only with politicians. Because when I go online, I read newspapers, and I read comments that an average man on the street who has access to his phone and can make comments, I don't think that the politicians are behind them and telling them about the comments that there are some hateful comments that they are supposed to make. So I think it's a problem, it's a social problem that we are dealing with here. And like you rightly pointed out, that the issues are very, very deep in our psyche, in our
working there will now be from the states, or 90%, which was not the case in the past. I think some of these issues are some of the injustices.
Don't you think the states where these institutions are located are trying to take the advantage of having that because they cannot have opportunity in other ones that are in other places?
Why can't the federal institution, why can't those people from there be transferred or posted to other institutions in other places so that they can now use that to really understand the other people's culture? And also this is going to reduce the tension on politics, because it is because of the level of ignorance of our people, of other people's culture and values, that is contributing and making them vulnerable.
Thank you,
politicians.
Thank you very much. I have a question that came up from one of the things we are making when you mentioned the instances of some candidates that made very hateful comments, and we know them, we see them, and they are our big people. What do we do to politicians who are highly placed in this country who keep inciting violence? What do you think we should? What should Nigerians be able to take from our willpower? They say democracy is meant for us. Yes. It is for the people. So how should the people actually treat big people who incite small people? Very briefly.
Well, first of all, I think the difficulty that we have in our country right now is that we find out that a lot of the people, the masses, if I may call that, are helpless.
Okay.
So they don't really have much power.
So we can do nothing.
And they don't have much say in terms of maybe what they can do.
Father, we're in number. And there's power in number.
I understand what you're talking about. There's power in number. But the issue now is that the kind of hunger that we have in the land, if this big man now brings 1,000 naira and come and give you, at least many who cannot even afford 3 square meals, you discover that the story changes. No matter even if you hated him before, or even if he had no good word for him, but that can change a lot. So that is a real problem that we are facing here. It's very difficult. So the issue is that we have to think of how to gradually build the psyche of our people.
Sorry, Father,
and empower them.
We will continue on this issue.
Yeah.
Viewers, we will take a short break. You can always reach us through the numbers you see scrolling on our bars and our Twitter handle. When we come back on break, we'll continue talking about how these big people who incite smaller people can be tackled in this country. Thank you. Please stay tuned.
Hate speech is a speech that attacks, threatens, or insults a person or group on the basis of national origin, ethnicity, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, or disability. Join Reverend Father Stephen Ojapa, MSP, Director of Dialogue and Ecumenism of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, and a member of the Central Coordinating Council of the Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace, and Amir Muhammad Jamil Muhammad, Founding Director, Peace and Development Builders Global Initiative, and co-chairman of the Central Coordinating Council of the Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace, in an anti-hate speech campaign for a better Nigeria. Speech is life. Hate can kill. Let's build our community free of hate, and we shall have a hate-free nation. This message is brought to you by Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace, IDFP, and supported by the International Dialogue Center, KAICID.
Welcome back, viewers. If you are just joining us, we have been talking about hate speech and politics as it concerns each and every one of us. And we've been talking with Father Patrick Etuk and Mr. Yabagi here in the studio. Father, before we went on break, we were talking about the masses. How do we get to confront how we politicians incite us? They go back and eat together and they make us kill ourselves. What can we do to actually assist one another?
Yeah, I was trying to say that first of all, it's good to understand the situation of the ordinary, the average man on the street. That makes them often vulnerable, often maybe ready tools in the hands of politicians to do their bidding. So what it means is that we have a lot of work to do, and I believe that through avenues like this, we try to really educate the masses. I mean, educate the people, the man, the person out there, to understand that when politicians are fighting, often calling each other names, that it is, first of all, their own personal interest that is most at stake. For instance, when you see maybe a politician having, the daughter of a politician is wedding, you find out that across board, everybody comes to enjoy, and you see backslapping, they enjoy themselves and all that. But at the end of the day, they make us, who are maybe their followers, sworn enemies of each other. We won't kill each other for them. At the end of the day, at that level, they know how they kind of sort out their
what
interests.
should the masses do?
So the masses should not be carried away. We should, first of all, enlighten them to see that the politicians often, they don't really have the interest of the masses at heart. And when they are daggers drawn, it is that actually their interest, that we should stay clear and look at the issues dispassionately.
Mr. Yabagi.
I think what I will add is, first of all, when I was coming to the studio, I saw a statement very within, not far from the studio, saying that anytime you want to make any statement, you should be very careful and make it soft. You understand? Because you don't know one day when you'll be having the opportunity of listening back to what you have said. Most of our politicians today, they are today in one party, tomorrow in another party. Now what you have said yesterday, which is a statement of hate speech, will now haunt you because you have now crossed a border, and now you will now be faced to listen to what you have said yesterday. Most of the politicians today is catching up with them, and I think they should please watch that.
Can you give us an example?
An example is one of the aspirants now, presidential aspirant, say something when he was another party, you understand, and then that when he was in power, the resources, I mean the power issue were not well managed, and like that, all that. Now people are using it against him, you understand, and many of them like that have been crossing from one party to another. The second point is, you as a politician again, you should know that these people that you are trying to incite so that they go on violence, they are the people that you intend to lead, you intend to rule over. So if you incite them and then they start violence and then kill each other, who do you rule again? Who do you govern? So you should have that.
Let me take you at this point. I have an elder statesman, I'm going to mention him, Sheikh Ahmad Lemu, said an ordinary Nigerian politician has only quest for three things. And once he can get them, it doesn't matter if everybody does not live again. Quest for power, quest for followership, and serious greed for money. That once these are there, even if everybody dies, as long as these three will come to him or her, there is no problem. So to them, it's nothing. Therefore, I think we should be looking at those who are following them.
Now, the issue of following them,
yes.
Let me just, because that was a question.
Yes, please,
I wanted to add that
yes, those who are
first and
following,
foremost,
yes.
I think Father was going around with the incident. The followers or the citizens should know that they should vote them out. Anybody who is engaging in hate speech, you should know that he's the enemy of the society. If this person became whatever he wanted to become, he will definitely serve his selfish interest, which you have just mentioned. So we should vote them out. That is the first thing. And then the second thing, we should not celebrate them. We should not celebrate them. And if they want us to go into any activity of violence, we should ask them, like people used to say, bring your children and your younger ones, your family, let them join us so that we'll go out together and do whatever you wanted us to do. I mean, these are some of the action that should be taken.
Thank you very much. Yeah, talking about actions that we should be taking. What else can we do as a country to have politics without bitterness? I know it's not, looking at the world generally, politicians are always, it's almost like a normal trend that whenever you're campaigning or whenever you are vying for votes, you try to demean the other person. But to what extent can we reduce politics without bitterness in Nigeria?
I believe that leadership has a lot to do in this matter. For instance, the issue of hate speech. I mean, to be very honest, sometimes when I listen to the media aides of the president, it's like that even the ones who are maybe promoting hate speech, the way they talk about other candidates and all that, you know. So you find out that when people give that kind of example from above, I mean, what do you expect followers to do? It looks as if they are kind of validating that kind of behavior. So I imagine that the president or those who are leaders should also be able to caution their aides. You know, somehow I was kind of happy when the time Obasanjo wrote something about the president, and the president actually instructed his aides not to, speak negatively about it. Well, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, you know, but at least